This is Andy Scott with North Shore Apartments and Condos. I'm walking into 516 5th Street, O2. It's a super one bedroom in Wilmette. So if I go just to the right of the front door, we see the living room and a sliver of the dining area. Straight in front of the, whoops-a-daisy, there we go. Straight in front of the front door is a big, what used to be called a dressing room, and is now used as a closet. And to the left is a walk-in closet and a bedroom. So let's go into the living room. Dang, this is sensitive today. I'm just painting around sort of the floor so you get an idea of the space. I think this is probably 15 feet long by 12 feet across. We have sconces. All the lights were turned on when I walked in, so I haven't had a chance to turn them off. Your windows are actually facing south, so you get pretty good natural light. You see a big radiator in the right corner of the room. We also have built-in shelves, which is very nice. Beautiful hardwood floors. As I walk toward the window, again, the windows are facing south, we look down into the courtyard, which is a pleasant view. As I pan around from the left, you see a little bit of the kitchen and the dining area. Excuse me. And there we're looking back at the living room, and it's a pretty big room. Again, we have the light sconces, and we just see the door handle of the front door, and we get a better visual of the shelves. Okay, as we go further into the apartment, we see the dining area. This is probably about a 10 by 8 space. It does have its own light. Again, the windows are facing south. You're looking into the courtyard, and if you strain, you can just see the corner of the street. If we look back from the window, we get our first comprehensive view of the kitchen. I'm going to walk towards the kitchen and turn around just so we get a better understanding of the contiguous nature of the kitchen to the dining area, the space in the dining area, which would easily hold a 4-person table or a workstation or something similar to that, and then from the dining area into the living room. So the dining area is super important. The kitchen has granite countertops, a dark granite countertop, stainless steel sink, lots of cabinets and a couple of drawers underneath the countertop. As I said, the countertop is a granite, so that's really nice. You also have good counter space, which is unusual. There's a backsplash around the kitchen of white tile that really will help to keep it clean. There we see a picture of a full-size stove, and again a little bit of countertop in between the stove and the fridge. We have tile floors. It's sort of a rubber tile. Again, water resistant, super easy to clean. The back door will take you down to laundry and storage. Or storage is not in this building. Stainless steel sink. Great water pressure in this building. Drains nicely. Underneath will be dry and able to be used as storage, which is really nice. Still draining beautifully. The underneath storage is deeper. There's one of the drawers. Let's see if I can crouch down and show you. The underneath storage is deeper, so it's good for pots and pans and small appliances like Keurigs or something similar to that. Lots of outlets. Again, we see the backsplash. We have big cabinets. Oh, I think those are keys. So that's our security system for the keys. This has got to be 3 feet. It's about 11 or 12 inches deep. This has 3 shelves. Most are going to be, so we have a number of the 3-foot cabinets, but we have some that are smaller, and I'd say this is probably 30 inches or 32 inches. And again, we have 3 shelves, 11 or 12 inches deep, but it's really quite a lot of cabinet space. Good storage for sure. And here's another one that looks like the others. And I think you get the general idea. Each of these is going to be the same. There we go. And I'm going quickly over that. You do have good counter space, which is nice, so you have room to be creative here, including a microwave or a Keurig. Microwaves are sometimes put on top of the fridge. There's another drawer. You have 3 drawers over here. And here's the deep storage that I mentioned. And you have 3 cabinets to the right of the sink that allow for the deep storage for pots and pans. The stove is not brand new, but it's super clean. 4-burner stove, full size. Inside is also very clean, which is nice. Behind the stove, around the stove, there's the tile back. But we have a couple of cabinets above, so there's really a lot of storage. These are probably a little less than 18 inches, same 12-inch depth. And here we have another one of the big ones, and then we have a couple of smaller ones. We have just a small amount of counter space between the stove and the fridge, and in that counter space we put more storage. So you really have, even though it's a smaller kitchen, there's just a tremendous amount of cabinet space and storage. Fridge was new last year, it's still squeaky clean, freezer on top. Refrigerator, crisper drawers on the bottom, shelves to the right. Very, very clean. And attractive too, actually. The fridge is probably about 5 feet 7 inches high. So I'm going to back out of the kitchen and show you one side. Lots of cabinets, full-size stove, nice refrigerator, what I call rubber tiles, which is not exactly right, but. And on the other side, huge cabinet space, good counter space, stainless steel sink, more storage underneath the counter. From the kitchen, we would walk through the dining area, windows facing south, living room, windows facing south, sconces, light fixtures in the wall, shelves built in. We walk across the living room and we see the front door, and again in front of the front door we have this great dressing area. Hanging bar and shelf on one side, hooks and shelf on the other side. Really an enormous amount of space with which to store things. So good closet, good storage area here, just outside of the bathroom. Inside the bathroom, we get our first look. We have a small shelf area. I'm not sure that that's totally usable, but it's attractive. Standard tile floors, standard vintage commode, nice new pedestal sink. I'll just open this up so you don't get nervous that there's some big surprise. There we go. There's a nice medicine cabinet. Lights directly above the medicine cabinet, which is really helpful. These are the original tiles, but they're in great shape. So if you're an apartment geek like I am, that's really cool. We swing around, we see more tiles, newer tiles above the original tiles. The original tiles were built when there was no shower, just a tub. Shower head's probably about 5'11" or 6 feet high, so it's not totally on top. There is a wood frame window, but we have a curtain in front of it to keep it dry. Because this was originally built as a tub, the bottom works the tub spout, and the top works the shower. And you can see that there's a lot of water pressure for each. And I'm just using a hot water. I'm not using a combination. So it's actually, that's kind of cool. That's not in every building. And the tub and the tiles are super clean. So I'm going to back out and just give you a look at the bath with the medicine cabinet. Oh, I don't think I opened that up. My bad. There you go. Totally usable. I don't think I showed you the sink But as you can imagine, the water pressure is terrific. So, pedestal sink, clean tub, shower, good water pressure, standard vintage commode, standard vintage tiles, huge, whoops, bad camera work, huge storage area with hanging bars, hooks, and shelves. And that brings us to the bedroom. Bedroom's probably 12 by 10 and a half, something like that, 12 by 10. Certainly big enough for a queen size bed. Again, the window is facing south. We have the radiator in the corner. There is a ceiling fan in the bedroom. Before we go into the bedroom, we have this big walk-in closet. This has got to be 7 feet deep, not quite 3 feet across. Lots of shelves, a hanging bar, a couple of hooks, and its own light fixture. Great closet. I'm going to walk in. Again, here we have smaller shelves. These are big enough to be used. We're looking out to the courtyard. And we'll just swing around this way. Show you the dimensions a little bit. Swing around that way. Again, it's a nice, bigger than average vintage bedroom, which means you squeeze a queen size bed in here, not squeeze, but put a queen size bed in fairly easily, but probably not a king size bed, at least not comfortably. We'll go back past this big walk-in closet, which we can see again. We come out of the bedroom. If we look to the left, we see the bath. Whoops. Get a glimpse of the living room, and then back to the front door. Thanks for watching.